Hello and welcome to this session about decoupling deployments and releases with OpenFeature. I'm Thomas. I'm the creator of Go Feature Flag, an open source solution for feature flagging, and I'm also part of the OpenFeature technical committee. You can contact me anytime to talk about feature flags in Blue Sky, GitHub, or directly on the Go Feature Flag website. In today's agenda, we're going to talk about the challenge of traditional feature release, how we can try to secure releases, why feature flags put us a step towards more control when we release new features in our software. We're going to deep dive into OpenFeature, the standardization and simplification of it, and why it's important to use it. And we're going to go beyond feature flags and to understand all the drawbacks and good things that feature flags are bringing to the table. So what a traditional feature release look like. So most of the time you have a developer or a set of developers working on a features for days or sprints in a long-lived GitHub branch. And when they are done, they are going through CI/CD pipeline. It takes, let's say, about 30 minutes to deploy, and your new feature is in production, and you're pretty happy. All your users are able to see it. But what happens if we have a bug? So most of the time, also what we are doing is like we identify the bug, we identify the Git commit that has the issue, we roll back the commit, and we go through the same pipelines, continuous integration, continuous deployment, and our production is safe again because we roll back to the old version. All good. But when you're doing that, if you have a mean boss, they can ask you like, does the bug have impacted all users? Why did it take so long to fix it and to remove the bug from the production? Which is probably not what you expect, but it happens. So what happened here when we have done our rollback? So we have identified our issue, we have rolled back the commit, and we have redeployed it. It took, let's say, 5 minutes to find the issue, because I'm pretty sure you're good engineers that found it super fast. And we have deployed the old version, and the CI/CD pipeline took about 30 minutes. So it means that during 35 minutes, 100% of our users were impacted by the bug. And the new feature is not online anymore. So if you had to do some investigation, it's kind of harder. You just have to rely on your observability and logs and all of these tools to be sure that you can understand what was happening. So how can we secure that? And how can we secure releases to avoid those 35 minutes where nothing is working? So one way of doing that, it's canary releases. So canary deployment of a new feature and a new software version means that we're going to deploy and release the feature for a subset of users first. Let's say here in this schema, 10%. And we're going to keep the old version of the application for the rest of the group. So here we have a set of pods. We say that 10% of the set of the pods goes to the new set of pods, so new version of the application. 90% stay on the old one. And we're fine here because 10% of our users can see the new feature. So if we have a bug, we don't impact 90% of it. And that's all good. So how it works is exactly that. So some pods have the new version, some don't, the other one don't, and we shape the traffic between the two versions. So 10% of the traffic goes to one way, 90% to the other way. Is it better because we reduce the potential impact of an incident because only 10% of our users can have an incident because of the new version, and it gives us more time to monitor if something goes wrong because we see it only on a subset of users. But it's not so good also because we don't control who sees a new feature. It really depends on the load balancing part, and it's hard to precisely put someone in one bucket or another. And we can do, let's say, one canary release at a time because you want to avoid having like 10 different versions of your same pod in your cluster, because it makes a nightmare to understand what is happening. So how can I re-release it good enough? So at that point, I hope you have your answer, and the answer is probably not, because we want more control and more fine-grained control to do that. So how can we do that? Feature flags. So feature flags put us a step towards more control when it comes to releases and how we can impact who see what. So feature flags are software development techniques that allows team to enable, disable, or change behavior of certain features during runtime without modifying the code. So what does it mean exactly? It means that when you create a new version of your application, you're gonna have in your code the old version of the feature and a new version of the feature inside the same version of the application. Why are we doing that? It's because with feature flags, you are able to control who see which pass of the code directly from a flag management system. So flag management system could be a vendor or could be directly your homegrown solution. But basically what it does, it controls remotely whether the user should go in one pass of the code or in another. So in this example, we want to know if the user want to see the new features, and if the new features is enabled for him or for her, we go to the new version of the feature. Else, we go to the old version. And this if is controlled entirely from the flag management system. So at runtime, we can change the behavior and go in one path or in another without modifying any code in your application or without deploying a new version. So how it works. Your code has different variation of the code of your new features, and you can control at runtime where you go. So it means that you can deploy without releasing, meaning that, for example, if you want, you can deploy the new feature and don't allow anyone to see it, which is actually a good practice to do. You can also, when you have enabled a feature, you can roll back in a second just by saying like everyone should see the old behavior and not the new one, meaning that just by changing the configuration in your flag management system, everyone will fall back to the old version and you don't have to deploy anything. So in a second, you have rolled back your code. And you can also precisely see check who see your feature, meaning that you can have like fine-grained rules that you can build, so you are able to select who sees the feature. And it could be things like, I want user one to see the feature, so one single user, or it could be way more advanced, like, I don't know, everyone in France can see the feature, or only my beta user, or whatsoever. Like, you decide what you want. And you don't need a complex architecture. You don't need a super fancy deployment system or anything, because everything is happening directly inside your code. You just import an SDK and you connect it to your flag management system, and that's it. After, you can control the code directly from there. So it's kind of a new paradigm where deployments are not releases anymore. You can deploy when it's convenient. So you can deploy way more often, even though your feature is not finished. And it reduces the risk quite a lot when you deploy. But you can release when it's ready and when it delivers value. You don't have to release because the code is here or because your branch is too old and it's time to merge it. You don't have to think about that anymore. And when I say release, you have different way of releasing things with feature flags. So the most common way is the percentage-based rollout, where you can say, I want 1% of my users seeing the new features. But you can go even more fancier, like progressive releases, where you select time slots where you say, from this date to this date, I want to go from 0% to 100% of the feature release. You have kill switch, exactly what I was saying. Like, I see a problem. I don't want any other people to see the feature anymore. So I just put 0% of people affected to the variation for the new features, and that's it. You have evaluation context-based rule. That's what I was saying for a complex rule to select exactly precisely who sees the features. And you have scheduled workflows that are kind of a mix of everything, where you can select some dates where things are happening. So you can say, I want first day, I want my internal users to see the features. Next 5 days later, I want my beta users to use it. And 10 days later, I want 10% of the traffic to see the new feature. So you can have fine-grained controls like this. And now we're going to talk about open features and the standardization and simplification it brings. What is OpenFeature? So OpenFeature is an open specification that provides a vendor-agnostic, community-driven API for feature flagging that works with any management tool or in-house solution. It's part of the CNCF, and it's currently in an incubating project stage. So OpenFeature is just a way to standardize how you operate feature flags with your applications. So what it does, it brings community-driven SDKs that you can insert into your application and give you a standard way of talking with feature flags in your applications. So when you do a flag evaluation, you send an evaluation context, that is kind of the context of the flag evaluation, to the OpenFeature SDK, and you don't have really to think which solution you are using, because the OpenFeature is bringing abstraction from that. Behind the hood, you have what we call an open feature provider. So providers are the middle layer between your open feature SDK and your flag management system. So it just does the conversion from open feature SDK to your flag management system, and you are able to operate with any flag management system you want, the same way with open feature SDKs. As of today, this is the landscape of OpenFeature SDK. So as you can see, it's solved a lot of technologies. It will continue to expand. We have more and more people bringing new languages or new specific technologies. So if yours is missing, join the project and you will be able to add more, and it's more than welcome. And currently, we have also a lot of vendor support. Here are the few from the main ones, but OpenFeature is already supporting a lot of providers and a lot of technologies. So I'm sure yours is here. And if not, like, we can always, it's super easy to add it. So we can always add it. So why you should use OpenFeature? Because you have no vendor locking. You always integrate with OpenFeature the same way. You have community-driven support SDKs that are top level, and that's super important. You have a standardized interface to interact with your flag that is always the same across all languages and across all technologies that you want to do. It works with vendors and in-house solutions. So if you have your own homegrown solution, you can also integrate with open features. And you have a lot of tooling around the standards that helps to get more from your flags. So it's really interesting to get more technologies behind feature flag just by adopting open features. And how it works. So this is a simple Go example on how you work with open feature. You have two sides here. First is the initialization that you do once, and after flag evaluation that you do every time you have a feature flag. So you first create a provider. It's a Go feature flag provider, but you create a provider. You attach this provider to open feature SDK, and that's it. You're done. That's the only time where you will mention the name of the solution you're using. After that, every time you evaluate a flag, you're gonna set the flag, the name of the flag, a default value. This is super important to have a default value, because the way it works is that even everything will crash, you will always have a value returned by open feature, which will be the default value. We don't want your feature flag to crash your application. It's just an handy tool, but it's not like here to break your production code. And you set an evaluation context. An evaluation context is the way to provide information to write these fine-grained rules that we were talking about. And beyond feature flags, because feature flags are great, but here comes new challenge with feature flag. First of all, flag depth, because the more feature flag you add, the more you have to remove, because basically you have two versions of your code at the same time. So this is something you need to be aware of, and you need to clean your code as soon as a feature has been rolled out to everyone. It's super important. You also have to change a bit your testing strategies, because you want to test every variant possible and not only the main one. It's also super hard to decide when to put a feature flag or not. My advice is to put it every time, but sometimes you will ask the question like, is it worth to put it or not? And it kind of changes your developer workflow, because you are able to ship code more often and release less often when it's ready. So it's really good. And yeah, it's a change of mindset that sometimes needs change management here. But also new opportunities will come. Like now you're able to test in production. You can roll out something only for one user. It could be the product manager or your QA analyst that can test the new feature. You can also reduce the long-lived Git branches that you add to smaller things, because you are able to send code more often. And you can also give ownership of releases to product manager, because developer can go until deployment, but releases now, it's just like changing a value in your flag management system. So almost anyone can do it. So this is pretty exciting time when you do that. So as a conclusion, you can see that with feature flags, you can secure your releases, simplify your deployments, and test in production, which is quite an awesome objective. And OpenFeature helps you a lot with that, because it simplifies how to use flags in your code. You don't have vendor locking, and you have community-driven SDKs that are like top level. So it's really, really good. Thanks for hearing me on this talk. If you have any feedback, you can scan the QR code and send it to me, and you can contact me anytime to wherever you want, Blue Sky, through email, or directly on GitHub. And thanks a lot for your time.